Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here in June. A very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. Are you feeling charitable? Then smash the subscribe button, please do that, and the like button, and please do follow me on Twitter. Lots of fun over on my Twitter, @MoviesTVMan, and welcome to Tuesday's edition of the DC Multiverse Daily. Does Ray Fisher love Mondays, or does Ray Fisher love Mondays? Oh yes, the shit hit the fans yesterday. And we are going to go through this with a fine-tooth comb, of course, and I'm going to give you my opinion on where I stand on all of this, because now not only has Ray Fisher spoken out again, Jason Momoa has had some very, very revealing things to say, something I didn't expect. I thought he'd hashtag the thing, maybe keep quiet and wait to the investigation. But I think that's the very reason why he spoke publicly for the first time about this situation. Now, we need to start with what Ray Fisher had to say. To date, the independent film hired by WB Pictures has conveniently avoided contacting key witnesses who gave damning statements to WBHR. One of the reasons it looks like Jason had to go beyond them and make his thoughts public. They also started interviews with and have since ghosted witnesses that have implicated former and current top-level executives. He continues, others, including an implicated individual that called me to apologise, have already been interviewed. We will not let any investigator cherry-pick interviewees that best suit WB Pictures' false narrative and scapegoating efforts. All his stories will be heard. Basically, it's A&E. I forgot what that stands for now. I know the other bit's entertainment. Anyway, you know what it means. It's, what is it? What is it? I forgot now. Accountability over entertainment. But as I tweeted Ray yesterday, your motto may be accountability over entertainment, but Hollywood's motto is the opposite. Entertainment over accountability. Now, let's go back to what... Now, this is what Jason Momoa had to say. This shit has to stop and needs to be looked at. Ray Fisher and everyone else who experienced what happened under the watch of WB Pictures needs proper investigation. I just think it's fucked up that people released a fake Frosty announcement without my permission to try and distract Ray Fisher speaking up about the shitty way we were treated on Justice League reshoots. Serious stuff went down. It needs to be investigated and people need to be held accountable. I stand with Ray Fisher. Aloha. Wow. Wow. So, he's not going to be in Frosty the Snowman, right? Well, I'm going to read you an article so we can get deeper into this. And it's not an article I've read out before because we really need to know the finite details of this. Don't you think? I do. So, this article is from Aaron Crouch from The Hollywood Reporter. So, this is big time. Jason Momoa backed Ray Fisher's Justice League claims. People need to be held accountable. Serious stuff went down the star rights of reshoots on the 2017 film. Now, why is this really important that Jason's saying this and not Ray anymore? Because Ray, apart from fans behind him, has nothing else. He hasn't got big box office to his name. His CV is as bare as the lemon tree we had to cut down after it died, right? Jason Momoa has got countless big projects under his belt. Game of Thrones, where we all discovered him. Major, major show, right? And Aquaman is a $1 billion movie. This man is untouchable. They can't fuck with him. They can't fire him. They can't do anything to him. And because he's from a minority group, they wouldn't want to touch him either. So him saying that is massive. Serious stuff went down on the star rights of reshoots on the 2017 film. Jason Momoa is backing Justice League co-star Ray Fisher in calling for an investigation into alleged abuse on the set of reshoots of the Justice League movie. This shit has to stop and needs to be looked at. and everyone else who experienced what happened under the watch of WP Pictures needs proper investigation. Momoa wrote on Instagram on Monday, so this is direct from Instagram. He hasn't done an interview with anyone, which is interesting. Maybe he's not allowed to do that. On July the 1st, Fisher alleged that Joss Whedon, who oversaw reshoots for 2017's Justice League, was abusive on set. He also claimed that producers John Berg and Jeff Johns enabled the filmmaker's behaviour. Warner Media said last month it was investigating these claims, but on September the 4th, Warner Brothers Pictures released a statement claiming Fisher was not cooperating with the investigation. Fisher denied this with a statement of his own. Momoa is backing Fisher. Fisher did not share any specifics about alleged behaviour on the set of Justice League. He went on to reference an upcoming Warner Brothers Frosty the Snowman project, in which he was reported to be starring, with Berg and Johns attached to produce. According to Momoa, news of that film was leaked as a distraction. Reports Momoa starring in the project hit the morning of July the 1st, a little more than 90 minutes after Fisher made his allegations on Twitter. I just think it's fucked up that people released a fake Frosty announcement without my permission to try and distract from Ray Fisher speaking up about the shitty way we were treated on Justice League reshoots. Momoa wrote, "Serious stuff went down. It needs to be investigated and people need to be held accountable. I stand with Ray Fisher. Aloha," as we've read before. Now, I'm a bit confused here. Jason, are you in Frosty the Snowman or not? Is it fake? Is it real? You seem to be saying it's actually not happening, but are you in this movie or not? I'm confused about that. Also, that story was posted several weeks ago. Jason, why didn't you come out then? Why are you only just coming out about it now? And please don't say you didn't know about it, because you did. This is obviously been discussed between himself and Ray Fisher to have the timing to hit the maximum impact. Yes, they're being tactical here. This is a war between them and Warner Brothers Pictures, and they're as smart, maybe even smarter, than Warner Brothers Pictures. Momoa has important relationships with the studio, as he is the face of the $1 billion Aquaman franchise and also has June coming up. Fisher played Cyborg in Justice League, which saw director Zack Snyder step down in May 2017 following a family tragedy. Fisher has a close relationship with Snyder, who cast the actor, is now working on an HBO Max cut of his film. On-set treatment of the cast and crew of Justice League was gross, abusive and unprofessional and completely unacceptable, Fisher wrote on Twitter July the 1st. He was enabled in many ways by producer Jeff Johns and John Berg, but has denied the claims while Johns and Whedon have not addressed them publicly. Say that again. On Twitter. He was enabled in many ways by producer Jeff Johns and John Berg. Berg has denied the claims while Johns and Whedon have not addressed them publicly. They're not going to do that. Yet. So, it's pretty damning. Momoa's statement is a very damning statement. Let's get that absolutely clear. I've read that stuff out to you so we know. We know the backstory, we know where we are, and now we can pick it to pieces and analyse it. The truth of the matter is, what Momoa says has a lot of weight to it, because he's another witness. So now Fisher isn't the crazy lone gunman screaming from the rooftops about things he can't substantiate. So he's got witnesses together who are willing to talk to an independent investigator, which seems to be the case now, right? That part seems to be happening. Now, Ray's claiming that those investigators are ignoring the witnesses that might say some stuff that might be a little bit orcs for Warner Brothers Pictures. And the game goes on. So Ray and Jason have gone to the public. I'll tell you why they've gone to the public. It's the last line of defense, because they don't know what else to do. Because with a powerful entity setting up this investigation, but ignoring key witnesses, and you've got to be able to prove that. I mean, are the witnesses who are being ignored going to come out? No, they're not, because they don't want to be identified. So it's a stalemate again. It's a stalemate, even though Jason Momoa said some serious shit went down. And this could pressure, and it's no good. Warner Brothers Pictures are going to try and cover their behinds. This now is a Warner Media situation. They own Warner Brothers Pictures. It's ridiculous. They have to go in there with an axe and tear it all fucking down and control it themselves. Now, to a level, they've tried to do this, but not enough as far as I'm concerned. Now, they've done some brilliant things this year, Warner Media. Fandom has turned around the perception of DC live action, and they've told us their vision and plans for the future within the multiverse strategy, which for me, at least personally, is very exciting. But it's time, Warner Media. You have to do something here. Because as a fan, I'm bored about hearing about this. This happened. This happens on many sets. It's not right. It's improper. This is the very reason why Christopher Eccleston was blacklisted from the BBC after doing a year of Doctor Who. He tried to stop this as well, so they blacklisted him. They tried to make him irrelevant so no one would believe what he said. I believe if Chris did come out about the goings-on the set of Doctor Who, Russell T Davies, let's just say, wouldn't be as lauded as he is now. But anyway, that's a different conversation for a Doctor Who video. So what happens now? Well, for me, if I was AT&T or Warner Media, if I was Jason Keeler, if I was Ann Sarnoff, I would absolutely have to tackle the elephant in the room, which is Jeff Johns. If they deal with the Jeff Johns situation, this goes away and we can get back to focusing on the future of the DC Extended Universe, the live-action franchise, the multiverse strategy. So exciting. They have to do one of two things. They either have to suspend him for 2 or 3 months with him making a public statement of an apology to everyone on the set of Justice League, or they need to fire him. It's pretty clear it's nearly impossible to fire this man, and I don't think people will even be satisfied completely with a suspension, but I think it makes it go away. It makes Ray Fisher go away. It makes Jason Momoa go away. They'll be happy with that. They just want the company to know and understand what happened was bad and it needs to be addressed and it can never happen again. A 3-month suspension of Jeff Johns with Jeff Johns making a public statement solves the problem as far as I'm concerned. And that's how I feel it should be tackled. But what do you think about that? I mean, it's a chapter after chapter. And it's interesting, isn't it? I remember being young, watching my movies, then watching the bonus features, and then going down the pub with my friends to discuss the movie I'd just seen, and that was that. It's kind of a shame now that we talk more about movies and behind-the-scenes drama and presidents of companies rather than watching the actual films. It's a pretty sad era to be a movie fan, if you ask me. Did you really think that was the end of the controversial discussion on today's DC Multiverse Daily? No, because on Sunday, comicbook.com put the headlights of every fan onto this. James Gunn says Kevin Feige visited Suicide Squad set, reassures fans there's no Marvel and DC feud. Can I just say, obviously they thought by doing this would show some kind of friendship between Feige, Marvel and DC. The problem with it is fans are not stupid. Obviously, Gunn worked for Feige over at MCU. Are you kidding me, James? People see Kevin Feige as the fucking Antichrist. Personally, I don't. I think the man's done very well for himself and good luck to him, but people don't like him. There's big accusations, which I will get to later on, in terms of Zach and Jeff Johns and, you know, Captain America Civil War. We will discuss that. This was a bad idea. There's so many other people from Marvel you could have brought to visit your set. Tobey Maguire, who played Spider-Man. That would have been fun. So many people. Your very own Peter Quill, right? You know, Chris Pratt. There were so many people you could have invited on. But the point is, James, this was a dumb idea. And shall I explain to you why? I'll tell you why. I'm an English football fan, or as you Americans call it, soccer. I'm a Manchester United fan. Manchester United fans and Liverpool fans hate each other. Now, in terms of hate, I'm talking about, you know, proper banter, you know, real hatred. And, you know, I hate your club. And we bring up things about the club's past and players and managers' past. And we have arguments on Twitter. These things, James, are healthy things. Now, you claim to be a comic book man, James, but how can you be when you don't actually understand that the rivalry between DC fans and Marvel fans has been going on since both comics have been invented and competing against each other? It's a healthy rivalry. Can it get toxic? Can we cross over the line with it? Of course. But I've read so many stories in my life about Marvel and DC fans being there for each other if their families have got cancer or if they become homeless. So you may call that toxic and unfriendly, but this is the problem with being alt-left. You don't understand how real people operate. We argue. We have a hatred for each other. We have a hatred for each other's characters. But underneath, secretly, we admire and respect each other. It's just banter. It's part of the game. And bringing on Kevin Feige to show that there's no rivalry makes fans suspicious. Because people see it as a situation where he maybe can find some secrets. Again, I don't believe that. I don't believe he saw anything of consequence. And I believe you probably told him everything you're doing. I hope you haven't told him everything that Walter Hamada and Jim Lee are developing in their plans. That would be unprofessional, and I hope you haven't done that. And I trust you enough to say that you haven't. Fingers crossed. So this is the problem, James. By bringing Feige on to show some kind of unity between Marvel and DC was a dumb move. And there was actually no need for it. Because we're always going to hate each other. The banter continues, and there's nothing wrong with that. But alt-left people want to live in this kind of fortress of perfection where everybody's nice to each other. That's not how real people work. And it just shows your naivety, James. James Gunn says Kevin Feige visited the set of The Suicide Squad, reassures fans there's no Marvel and DC feud. Look, you're just working, you're just doing a job. Of course you don't have a feud. But we have a rivalry, and I've explained it. And he's done time and time before. James Gunn says there's no bad blood whatsoever between the executives of Marvel Studios and DC Films. In fact, Gunn revealed in the comments section on a recent Instagram post that he invited Marvel Studios' two head honchos to hang out on the set of The Suicide Squad to catch up. Responding to a fan's question asking the filmmaker how Marvel responded to his new gig on the squad, Gunn said any Marvel versus DC chatter is all drummed up by the fans. How dare we? How dare we? We don't create any chatter. We have this rivalry. I've explained to you. But you can't be a real comic book fan, James, if you don't understand that. And I suspect you're actually not, but you seem to know the Suicide Squad comics at least, which is a good thing. You studied them. Good. I told Kevin Feige before I took the job, and he was very cool and supportive, as he always is. Gunn said he just wanted me to make a good movie, and he and Lou D'Esposito even came to visit the set and watched us shoot. There isn't the amity behind the scenes like there is in the fan community. That's not, look, that just shows that you're not a fan, mate. Don't you understand? Don't you understand? But this is the moment that's really pissed off the Snyder section of the DCEU fandom. And the Twitter posts I've seen are fucking hilarious. I must admit, I had a good time reading this. These people are so dumb. They just don't get it. Not the fans, these people. These people actually working in Hollywood today. We are your consumers. And you're trying to turn it around on its head, the rivalry. It's a bit of fun. It can be toxic, yes. Yes. But at the end of the day, it isn't as deep and as depraved as you lot make out for. But your mentality and your political ideologies are the problem, not the fans. So, Gunn, of course, boarded the movie as director, having already penned the script. Both jobs came in a span of months after he was temporarily relieved of his position as director of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 after racy 10-year-old tweets surfaced and caused an uproar online. Yeah, they were more than racy. They were, they were below the belt. The firing itself caused another uproar online as stars of the MCU and Hollywood alike came to the director's defense. Eventually, he was rehired and will film Guardians 3 at some point after his work on the Suicide Squad wraps. I'm always learning and will continue to work at being the best human being I can be, Gunn said after his rehiring. I deeply appreciate Disney's decision and I'm excited to continue making films that investigate the ties of love that bind us all. They're full of bullshit, aren't they? I have been and continue to be incredibly humbled by your love and support from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. Love to you all. The Suicide Squad is set for release, blah, 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 August the 6th, 2021. We don't need to read any more. Right, now we have to see how he responded to fans criticising his invite of Feige and Espinosa onto the Suicide Squad set. So James Gunn started to respond after another verified account, and I think he's a blogger, Jacob Airy. You heard of him? Anyway. The only amenity, James Gunn, is when you insult the fans like this. Sure, there are a few weirdos and trolls, but you bigwigs is why your audience is dwindling. I don't know whose audience is dwindling, mate. It's basically, it's probably Fandom Menace, isn't it? Fandom Menace always talk about dwindling audiences, but, you know, before the pandemic, films were still making over $1 billion. Well, the mainstream movies. I mean, Hollywood is not making a variety of movies anymore. That's where they're suffering. They have to go back to doing that. Anyway, right. So James Gunn says this to him. I didn't insult the fans. I am a fan. And I think by far the majority of folks in the fan community are accepting and cool people. But to say there isn't a lot of unnecessary fractioners between some Marvel and DC fans would be denial, ignorance, or dishonesty. Now, I can go in here and go into some of the stuff he responds to. I'm not going to do that. There's too much, right? But the point is, again, from his tweet, right? I like James Gunn. I like his films. I don't defend what he said in those 8-year-old tweets. But at the end of the day, it's done. It's dusted. It's over. He's a great filmmaker. I like his films. And I'm excited for the Suicide Squad. We'll be talking about boycotts very shortly, because that's another part of the Ray Fisher, Jeff Johns little war. Some fans have decided to try and expose Wonder Woman 84. We're going to get into that in a minute. But what I will reiterate about what James Gunn says here is he doesn't get it. He says he's a fan. All right, I accept that. You're a fan. But you're not a very knowledgeable fan of fans. Because the truth is, James, you congregate with famous people. You're in a bubble. You don't surround yourself with real people, with real issues. You don't understand what being a fan is. Us fans of so many cultures and colours and genders, right? We love our DC and our Marvel. It's part of our lives. And as sad as pathetic that might sound to the outer rim of people, it's true. We mostly go on Twitter to talk about DC and Marvel and Zack Snyder and Zack Snyder's Justice League, whatever, right? It's like being a Doctor Who fan. I'm on there with other Doctor Who fans talking about Doctor Who, the state of that show right now as well. We have passionate fandoms, and that's okay. Now, there has to be a line you can't cross, and some people do that in the name of passion, and that's wrong. But passion in saying, I love this era of Doctor Who, and you're a twat for liking that era. No, and it goes like that. It's just part of the thing, right? It's just part of the banter, right? After all said and done, without any passion in fandoms, you won't make the money. But I will give you the footballing analogy. If the Manchester United former manager, Sir Alex Ferguson, went into Gerard Houlier's changing room, if Gerard Houllier invited him to give his team a pep talk, there'll be more than what you're seeing on Twitter with the DCEU Zack Snyder fandom. There will be riots outside those stadiums. So maybe, James, you just don't understand the culture of fandom. The culture of fandom, they're not bad people. They're just people with this as part of their lives. They love these fictional characters, and that's okay. We live in a shitty world, and we need an escape. And the last thing we need from you is criticism. Criticism for our passion. If you claim to be a fan of something, you better have a fucking good reason to boycott it. Now you listen here. Everyone has the freedom to boycott and not watch what they want. Absolutely. I can't tell you what to go and watch. Now, I remember back in the day, earlier this year, when a fight scene of Birds of Prey and Emancipation of One Harley Quinn was released, and my fellow Snyderverse fans destroyed it and were very disrespectful about Kathy Yan's directing, right? It was supposed to be that way. It was supposed to be a bit silly. That film was a very watered down, silly film. That's the kind of audience it wanted. I don't know why the studio R-rated it, because it wasn't an R-rated film. But anyway, doesn't matter, right? So yesterday, somebody within the DCEU Snyder fandom found a very old promotional TV spot for Wonder Woman 84, where she's winking, she's floating in the air, and basically a lot of DCEU Snyder fans were destroying this. I'm boycotting it, they say. I'm boycotting the Suicide Squad. I won't be watching any of these things until people like Gunn and Jeff Johns are gone. Sack Jeff Johns, they're saying. I've given you my opinion. I think that Warner Media should do something. I would be happy with a 3-month suspension, something like that, and an apology from him. And I think we could draw a line. I'm afraid some of you people will never draw a line underneath it. You all want blood now. That's the problem. Will Jeff Johns get sacked? Ultimately, I think there's a 50% chance he could now. Because with what Jason's had to say as well, they're under pressure to do a thorough investigation. But the problem is, it all depends if they do a thorough investigation. And I still have doubts about that from what I'm hearing from Ray Fisher right now. But I've told you this before, I have no intention of boycotting any DC film. I know that Jeff Johns co-wrote that, and he's going to continue, unless something changes very soon, he will continue to be working with Patty on this Wonder Woman franchise. Like it or not, that's the way it is. I can't be expected, and other fans can't be expected to boycott something that they're already invested in. By the way, Jeff Johns had involvement in the first film as well. Right, and that's how he met Patty, and that's how they continued working together. So apparently, he is a friend of hers, right? So someone likes him, right? That's interesting. But then fans, this is when James Gunn is right, when fans cross the line, and now people are trying to attack Patty Jenkins. Is she a snake? You know, how far can you go? This is toxicity. This is what when I'm saying that fans are not toxic, and you do things like this is where I have to say, do you know what? You are toxic, right? You found an old TV spot that has a wink in it. You're basically mocking it because it has a lighter tone. And you're all for the dark tone because you love what Zack did. I love what Zack does as well. But it doesn't mean every single comic book film has to be the same or has to be dark. No. Life's about variety. Entertainment should be about variety. And it shouldn't be just what you want and what you demand. There are millions, hundreds of millions of fans across the world who want different things. And that, my friends, is what the multiverse strategy is all about. So absolutely, I will not be mocking any DC project. I'm so excited for the future of DC. But what I would implore, finally today, what I would implore and reiterate is Warner Media and AT&T coming out, taking this Jeff Johns situation and Justice League reshoot situation away from Warner Brothers Pictures because they're too much invested in it, right? They need to change that company. They need to have authority over it. After all, they do fucking own it, right? And just suspend Jeff Johns for free, maybe to 6 months, whatever, right? And get him to write a big, big statement of apology. Doesn't matter how he puts it, how he frames it. He was under pressure. He acted improperly. He's sorry. The investigations have to stop. You just have to suspend him for a little while, and he has to apologise. That's my opinion on it. I want your opinion on it. Comment down below, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll be back tomorrow with even more DC Multiverse Daily. See you again soon. Woo! That was a long video. And you know when I pause, I only pause to get the actual new stuff up. I don't actually have a rest, so I'm going to have a drink of water. See you again tomorrow.